Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scheduling Conflicts Presents. My screens have changed, it's all the way over there. Scheduling Conflicts Presents Summer Camp Slasher. This is episode 2, Party Foul. If you are watching this now and you're extremely confused, you may have missed episode 1, The Drowning of Victor Miller. If you have, I bid you a fond farewell. I guess you have a couple of choices, right? I mean, maybe watch both at the same time.
I think
If
so.
you're on a computer, go split screen 2 different YouTube windows and just sort of play them both. Kind of like that person who was playing Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden Ring all at the same time. I don't know if anybody saw that. They had their controller
nuts.
hooked up to like simultaneously play all 4. It was quite silly.
It's kind of like every child under the age of 12 watching 6 different versions of TikTok on other devices and playing Minecraft at the same time.
It's our effort to really tap into that. I've often thought about sort of streaming like a little Subway Surfers over here, maybe something to hold attention, maybe some Family Guy clips sort of playing in the bottom corner, so that if you tune out of us, you can sort of go down there and then come back up. This is a in-between show. Scheduling Conflicts is, the near as I can tell, the only show that only premieres when other shows are canceled. Right now it's only in network. We're continuing to discuss trying to get a contract out to Critical Role or somebody to be like, if you guys ever miss, hit us up. It'll never happen, but if it does, we got your back. This has been sort of our homage to the summer, and right on schedule. It's about 135 degrees in my office right now, so bless up on that. Last session, we were introduced to 2 characters, Spencer's character of Brett Andrews, and Tyler, who unfortunately could not make it this week, character Xavier Dragomir. We watched the 2 of them sort of playing foil to one another, Brett being kind of the fun-loving stoner camp counselor to Xavier's extremely type A. He was playing a playbook that was built all around that. We're in the Monster of the Week system. Those 2, we got a brief introduction to the way that they work in camp, and then shriek, we see Cindy Brooks standing on the beachhead, letting out the classic slasher film scream, and Victor Miller is upside down, face down in the lake, and has drowned. A little bit of magical CPR later, Victor Miller is briefly resuscitated, only to die as if he still has a lung full of water, despite having definitively been saved mere moments ago. The last words gasped out to Brett Andrews: the raft. The raft. Brett, leaning back, discovers, because of a luck roll, that it turns out he actually was not supposed to be on duty. Roger Green, the person who makes the schedules and does the announcements, messed up. There was nobody watching the beach at that time. I would love, talk about a luck roll that changes the course of the campaign. I'm very interested to know what kind of game we would be playing if you had failed and sort of had that moment where Brett was truly responsible for the death of Victor Miller. From there, we are introduced to Elias Findale, the mayor of the town of Midfield, where our beautiful Camp Findale is situated right next to the Bicentennial Tunnel, which the ancestors of Elias Findale constructed, making this town as profitable as it now is. Tells everybody to keep it down and keep it shut. Tomorrow's boat race, the Bicentennial boat race, is a big deal. A lot of people are coming in. We are not here to cause a panic. Brett and Xavier go to investigate a little bit, figure out what's going on, coming into conflict with Clayton Duggins, the captain of the football team, who is still camp counseling despite having graduated and having a real job. Make whatever judgments you need about Clayton. He is eventually run off, but with a vicious plan looming behind his eyes. With that, we close out on a little montage of Xavier learning about the potential foul creatures that may be visiting their wrath upon this small summer camp, landing on a kind of spirit called the Drowned. While Brett, after a little bit of indecisive feeling, stands up and grabs a .22 pistol out of the top of his sock drawer that he had hidden, tucks it into his waistband. That's our recap. Do you guys feel like there's anything the viewers need to know that I have left out? I got the name of the camp. I think, did I get the name of the town? We're in Midfield, Mass. We're in Midfield, Massachusetts. I think I got that. One of these towns that sort of lives for the summer, right? There's a bunch of ice cream parlors that are only open for the summer. There's a bunch of businesses that are only open for the summer. There's this camp. It's kind of a place that comes alive. For anybody in the sort of upstate New York area, it's like Lake George. Lake George is really open for like 4 months and then shuts down the rest of the year while all of that stuff kind of can't be functioning.
Did you cover the secret event happening outside of the lake tonight?
Yes. Okay. Woo. The only thing that I missed is we know that there is a party going on somewhere around. Brett Andrews not quite cool enough to get invited, but cool enough to know it's happening, mainly because he's selling drugs to these kids. It's 1976, baby. The music is popping, and people are doing an incredible amount of weed. And that is sort of how you are making your business right now. Our other character, Xavier Dragomir, being a certified narc, was not told where the party was going to be very specifically. But a couple of persuasive rolls later, you managed to get out of Cindy Brooks that there's going to be a party and where it's going to be.
That's it.
Thank you. Music really coming in clutch on that one. Absolutely love it. Our music is, I'll say it once now quickly and then once towards the end, is from a YouTube channel called White Bat Audio. This is their, I can't pull it up or it'll ruin stream. It's their like 80s synth John Carpenter mix. A little bit the wrong decade, but the right kind of movie. So it's what we went with. We looked up, for those of you listening, we looked up the hits of 76. If we had a lot of money, I'd love to play some of the stuff. This is some really incredible things here. The top 100 for 1976 was like Bohemian Rhapsody, More Than a Feeling, Boston. Just great tracks leading up. We're about to go around and introduce characters, which I'm very excited for. Just to let you guys know, if I'm looking over at stream, we got Michael in the top left, and then me, Spencer in the bottom left, and then Stefan. So we'll go in that order, introducing characters. So it'll be Michael, and then Spencer, and Stefan. Great. And I actually have time. I wanted to say something to you guys before we got on the call. I forgot. And so I'm going to say it now and share it with our viewers now and in the future. So I was driving back to my house today, and there was a deer on the side of the road that had been hit by a car. Unfortunate. The deer obviously passed away. When I tell you that car's entire front bumper and one of the headlights was on the side of the road shattered. That deer went down fighting. It was ridiculous. I just wanted to take the time to share that with you all because I was filled with this feeling of, God, I wish there was a trail cam pointed to, did this deer, like, seeing the car oncoming, like, do a jumping kick into the front of it? I've never seen that much damage from hitting a deer ever. Not even close.
I think they can total the cars on occasion too if they're a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
This one might have done it.
Ooh.
All we can hope is that in this game, we can strive to be the deer. Try and take out whatever this is swinging.
Thank you for trying to turn my forgetting to say that beforehand into like a plot point. Yeah, be the deer, boys. Let's see what we can do. All right, let's go around and introduce our characters.
Michael,
Who's showing? Oh, hi. Yes, I am Clark Findall, son of Mayor Findall. I'm playing as the Chosen because I own this place.
Love that. Fantastic. Can I get just a couple of bars? What does Clark look like? Cut me off a slice of Clark.
Clark's 18 years old. He just graduated from high school, but he's got nothing really going on. This is last summer at home before he goes to college to kind of, I guess, be my father, which I am not happy about. He's a bit of a party guy. He's a good looker. Not playboy, but he's kind of just the fun hangout guy. He used to be kind of not the bad boy, but he defied his father a lot.
Okay.
That's kind of tampered a little bit.
Alrighty. I Love it. So a sort of dashing douche we find in Clark Findale, but seemingly headed in the right direction. You know, he's refuting his father's money-bound ways and maybe trying to be a little bit more of a rebel. I love it.
Just a little bit.
All right. Up next in the order, Spencer.
That's me, Brett Andrews, at your service. Brett Andrews is a rough and tumble 20-year-old from the annals of Chicago. He sells drugs to kids at summer camp, and he makes a good amount of money doing it. He does come from a line of people who are interested in the occult, but something that he and his side of the family have sort of sworn off after his great grandpapa previously did so. He is a fairly scrawny build. He's got long black curly hair. He's got the whisperings of a mustache on his lip. But I'm not going to say that it's a true mustache because it certainly isn't.
A vital note that you did make canon last time. Brett Andrews did get a perm. His hair is not curly naturally.
No, this is a full perm. He is handsome in a way that like a rat could be handsome. Not really jumping out at you as being a good-looking guy, but you could kind of see it. And that's Brett. He did rip the sleeves off of his camp counselor shirt. So
tremendous. All right.
And I'll be playing Hubert Branch Lehman, and he's going to be about like I think right between like 16, 17 years old, waiting for like an autumn birthday or something. And his class will be the Flake, so he's kind of like out there. He spends his time like with the camp, clearing the trails, organizing the hikes and stuff for the kids, and handing out like the little taxonomy books so they can like identify the trees and things, and also tries to encourage them to stay on the trails and not wander away. And I guess like last time he was the one, I guess like as he usually emerges from the trails, he's got like these thick jeans on with like various like burdock spurs constantly like stuck to them. So like on occasion he'll just like pull one off and flick it away. A bit of flannel underneath his camp counselor shirt. And like even though he's like still like an older teen, he's kind of got like this like old kind of wild look to his eyes that kind of like pierces like kind of beyond people usually when he's staring at them.
Nice. I love it. We're deep in the genre here. I love it. All right. Great. So we've got our little band of characters here. Spencer, did you have a burning question?
Yeah, before we jump into the game proper, we do need to establish relationships between our characters. We all work together, so there's at least that. Do we know each other? Are we friendly? Are we enemies? What are we thinking? Well, we all work in the same field.
Yeah. I think since Hubert's usually out on the trails and stuff, Brett probably asked him to get some specimens for the camp. And Hubert's just like, oh, sure, yeah, I can get you a couple. And he's just like, what was it? Like, he got you a couple of like the mushrooms or something that you had requested, but also like a whole bunch of like mints too. And a couple of like, and then like I think some other like invasive plants or something, like a couple of like noxers, like so there's like, and then like some stinging nettle in there too. So it's like unfortunately like when he gives you the package, it's like everything useful that you wanted was at the bottom, and there's all of these like various like miscellaneous like junk weeds and stuff on top of it.
Yeah, thanks, Branch. I
Sure
appreciate it.
I hope the kids learn a lot with that sample.
They will.
Great. I love that you are accidentally a prolific shrooms dealer, Branch. That's tremendous. Yeah, okay, so we've got sort of that connected there. How does Clark Findale tie into our little band of adventurers here? Other than that, you are, the golden boy of the camp.
Oh, I definitely buy drugs from Brett.
Nice.
Huge.
We've probably done drugs together and played like games while we were high.
76. So you've played straight up Pong,
Pong,
right? Like there can't be much more than that kicking around.
We played badminton high.
Brett didn't play. Brett was there.
Uh.
He watched some people play badminton while everybody was high. I think that you also. So we've smoked together. I've sold you drugs. I'm also probably top of the list of the people you said your dad told you to watch out for when he dropped you off today, because I was technically on duty when that kid drowned, and everybody knows I'm a drug dealer at this summer camp, so probably you'd want to keep an eye on me.
Yeah.
Which is also why Clark hangs out with you so much, because we've made canon that Clark does not like his dad. So so it's deeply funny. Elias is like, and stay away from Brett Andrews. Clark goes, oh hey, it's Brett Andrews.
Hey, oh, what up, Brett?
I'm just imagining.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up. So Pong is 1972. So I'm just imagining Brett and Clark stoned out of the gourds, and Brett's just like, the graphics. Ding. Watching them play Pong.
They're incredible.
Oh, my God. Just flabbergasted. All right. I love it. Okay. So.
Maybe. Oh, for I guess our connection too between Hubert and Clark. I think maybe your dad had given through you a like a list of the trails to clean, and like the one that goes by the river, like in preparation for the boat race, was the one that I was probably recently on, making sure that was good, like in case people like going through the hike could still like see the boat race going on. So I guess like I probably had like gotten that info from you.
So you would know Branch as the guy to talk to if you need directions or a guide or places to go through here. That would make sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Cool.
All right. Great. Okay. So. All that being what it is, we're going to open back up into the scene here at Camp Findale. Assuming this is like a TV series, our camera starts wide, playing in the background some track we can't afford. As the camera kind of dips in, it whips us through the same camp we saw last time. But now night has fallen, the sun is setting, maybe just a peak of it left off in the distance, a little bit of purple and red in the sky. As we see this camera sweep down, it goes through the center and follows. I looked it up. It can't be a Crown Vic. Crown Vics aren't for quite a while. We see a mint 1976 Lincoln Continental pull up into the circle.
I was going to say
Sweeping
like a
around.
Firebird.
Firebird is also 76. I had the thought, this is your dad's.
Ah.
There's no way Elias drives a Firebird.
No.
We see this Lincoln Continental pull up, and we zoom in. The same scene we described last time, but now we know who's in the car. Clark Findale, you are in the passenger seat. Your father, Elias, is in the driver, and we cut in on the conversation as he turns to you. The car parked, red glow of the taillights illuminating the central office of the camp off to the left, casting this unearthly, eerie glow. He looks over to you and goes, you got one job to do. Go out there and keep things clean. All right? This is a big day for us. You're going to have to grow up someday, Clark, and you'll be in charge of this. What do you say?
Yeah, I know. You know what? I put my hand out, and you know what talks best.
All right. He reaches, thumbs out a couple of bills, and hands you some cash, and goes, I want it clean tonight, Clark. Keep an eye out, and you look at me. You keep an eye on Brett Andrews. As you get out of the car, the only question I'll ask is, you are the chosen, which means you have a chosen weapon. You've already told us what it is. So my question is, how have you stashed your dad's 9-iron?
It is like in my pants, like hip to ankle. Wearing some jeans, not tight jeans, but semi-tight jeans.
So you're just sort of really reclined. You swing that leg out. The car pulls away, and we watch Clark wait, and then pull.
I look to one of my buddies walking by. You owe me a 20. I got it.
No way! One of your friends. Let's see. Let me look at my. I've got my big bad list of names here. One of your friends. We look over and we see Philip Bradley. One of the other sort of wealthier kids. You know what? Philip Bradley is the one with the Firebird. Philip is a notoriously fun-loving member of this group who is one of those real car-obsessed kiddos. And drives a Firebird, admittedly one that he has crashed a little bit, so maybe not quite the mint condition that your dad's was. Goes, no way, he took it! And hands you, it can't be a 20. It's 1976.
No.
He hands you a 5.
He's a 5.
He gives you a 5. And you are
He's the real
flush.
rich kid.
You're flush with cash for this evening. You've got more than what you need to cause a little bit of shenanigans. At that same time as the car pulls away, we see the door across the way, sort of kitty corner to where we are now, to the nurse's cabin. Flip open. Anita Dean calling out some words of comfort and saying, if you get sick again, just come on back, as we see Stefan's character emerge.
Sure thing. I'm feeling a bit steady on my legs now. Yeah, thanks.
Stefan, you've got Stefan's character, so Branch has a big water bottle and probably has like one of those like side strap canteens. As you take a hearty swig, you unfortunately don't have a dad to get in an argument with, so we just sort of see your character looking around, interacting with the space. We swing down and across. Brett, as you are stepping out of your cabin, gun in your a gun tucked into the back of your pants, we get a moment of panic as we see a blur of movement in front of you. Something sprints by at incredible speed. You look over just in time to see a uniformed police officer running across the way. You look over to see they are running to Xavier's cabin.
I am relieved, first of all, they're not after me. But then I'm going to cut a sharp U around to try and observe what's going on.
Cutting around to the outside, as I imagine, and let me please, Clark and Branch are also on their way investigating the running police officer through the center of camp. We see 2 or 3 cops converging on this cabin. Brett, you're sort of peeking around from behind the corner of one of these cabins, and you see Xavier in handcuffs, being led down the front stairs, yelling, "What is the charge? What is the charge? Enjoying a cool evening in the night?" Being his usual incredibly weird self, he's being sort of pushed out forward, and a cop walking out behind him has his crossbow in one hand and a little plastic baggie with what your eagle eyes immediately recognize as a little bit of weed, which Xavier famously does not smoke, following behind him down the stairs.
Brett feels the weight of the gun in the back of his waistband, which he's not legally allowed to have. And seeing the police coming through, he decides to risk a little bit. And he stands up and he says, "Xavier, don't say a word to him. Ask for a lawyer. They can't do anything to you if you ask for a lawyer." And then I fucking turn around and try and get away from their view.
We watch a little black and white cutaway. It's Brett Andrews just a couple of weeks ago in a different tank top, and it's got to be some denim cut off shorts, making his way out the door. Yeah. And we see Brett's mom smoking a cigarette in the kitchen, point as he goes out the door and goes, "You get in trouble one more time and you're out of this house," as you turn and go out the door, the weight of that gun heavy on you. You yell that out. Xavier looks at you and goes, Of course! As he's being let out, he goes, "I'll never speak to you." You watch him kind of shimmying, and he's looking like he's fighting against the cuffs. As the cops move past, you see the thick journal / book that your grandpa left Xavier tumbles out of the back of his shirt, poof, down into the dirt. and they move off and down. As they go past, you see a silhouette as Clark and Branch, you're making your way down. You see Xavier Dragomir, famous narc and basically security guard of a counselor, being led out and passing you, making eye contact with Brett. We see Clayton Duggins walking across the path. He looks over at you, Brett, and goes, and turns and walks off with 3 of his stooges to some other part of the camp.
Have the police gotten into their vehicle and begun to drive off yet, or no?
I'll say yeah. We want this scene to be nice and good. So as the cops are sort of loading him into the car, they get into 2 cars and start to drive off. That's when Clayton comes out and sort of shoots you this little look as he goes to walk off into the forest.
Yeah, Clayton turns back to walk off into the forest with his goon squad, and I do rush and tackle him and begin swinging my fist down upon him.
Absolutely, roll to kick some ass. Clark and Branch, as you guys are making your way,
Whoa.
I assume you both have been invited to the party. As you both are making your way to where you know the party is happening tonight, you see Brett dash across the space and tackle Clayton down to the ground. Brett, go to roll to kick some ass.
It is 2 5s, so a 10 plus 0.
Oh, wow, better than anybody could have anticipated. With a 10 plus, do you want to gain the advantage, inflict terrible harm, suffer less harm, or force them where you want them? What's the goal in beating him up?
To feel better.
I will say,
Yeah.
if you want to take a step to the right, if you have a more specific goal, I'm looking at, like act under pressure. So we'll keep that 5, 5, 10. If one of these kick some ass goals lines up, that's great. If not, I'm looking at act under pressure, which is just you do what you set out to do. You know, maybe if you had something sort of other in mind, we could target it in that direction rather than sort of keeping it there.
Brett's out for revenge. Clayton Duggins struck me once already and then got my cousin arrested who did not deserve it. So I am going to inflict terrible harm. I'm going to beat this dude's ass.
Yeah, 2 harm, and there's no armor here. This is going to be pretty, that is a pretty serious blow to, your normal, average, everyday Joe. So you knock him down to the ground. One of the other dudes trips back and falls and gives you the opening you need to rear up and really rock him once in the face. He goes to reach up and grab your arm, and we get a very good, whack, slam down with the other fist across his face. We see his nose, a little bit of blood scatter across the dirt, just in time for one of his boys, one of the other dudes from the football team, runs up and kicks you in the ribs. And that is the 1 point of harm that you take as you are sort of sent reeling off to the side. He kicks you off, Clayton.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Don't ever fuck with my family again. I'll kill you.
As you yell that, Branch, what do you run in?
Yeah, I'm just like, whoa, guys. There's enough disruption at the camp already. Let's try to keep our heads cool.
Okay, Branch, roll to manipulate someone. Roll plus charm.
Yeah, and with the seed all fits together, you can use sharp instead of charm when you manipulate someone. So I'm just want to be like, tomorrow's the big day. We've got to be kind of like on our feet and ready for anything that happens. Don't want any more disruptions.
You use logos
Yeah.
to manipulate someone.
Okay, so this ability lets you just sort of very logically play into people's brains. Okay, Go ahead.
And that's 2d6, right?
Yep.
All right. That is a 10.
10, absolutely. They'll do it for the reason you gave them. You did not ask too much. One of Clayton's friends scoops their arms up under him and lifts him up. Because you inflicted terrible harm, the boyishly handsome face of Clayton Duggins, you cannot help but notice his nose is askew to the left. A permanent mark left on him. As he, through this sort of pinched nose, goes, "Fuck you, man. If I see you again tonight, you're done." As he's led off, incredibly plugged nose.
There's room open at the hospital now, or the infirmary.
The hospital. That's, yeah, exactly. The infirmary. Stefan, you have no idea how
There's the
long
word.
we spent trying to figure out
Oh,
what to
no.
call
Nurse's
that cabin
office,
yesterday. I was like,
yeah.
the nurse's den? No, the infirmary. Yeah, you see that Clayton is sort of led off towards the party. After they take a couple of steps and the two of you and you sort of run up to Brett, we hear a pop as one of his friends sets Clayton's nose somewhat central. Normally the GM doesn't roll for this game. I'm gonna roll 2d6 to see how good of a job he does setting Clayton's nose. I'm gonna kick the ball over to you guys. What do we find happening next among our band here?
Brett is like rocked back on his butt. He's holding his ribs. He's like, damn, that hurt.
Ooh, that does look rough. Sorry about your brother. I'll just give you a pat on the shoulder, kind of thing.
Thanks, Branch. He's my cousin, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cousin.
Say you don't have any of those mushrooms, do you?
No, I just grabbed like one of each for the samples for the kids. Hopefully they can learn kind of like the little filaments and the spores and all that tomorrow.
All right. Help me out real quick, will you?
Sure thing.
All right, thanks.
All right.
I look back and I see Clark holding a full golf club. I say, "Hey, Clark, could have used that club maybe in that fight just a second ago."
Yeah, I mean, I could have, but you had it.
Yes.
If I brought this into the fight, it would have been more than a broken nose. And we don't want cops just left. We don't want them coming back. Nasty right hook now. Like,
Thank you.
here, let me get you a beer.
All right. Speaking of beer, have you guys heard anything about a party going on tonight? Anything like
Where
that?
I'm headed right now.
Oh yeah, I had to clear out all the poison ivy. The kids were asking me about that.
Did they? Well, hey, shout out, Brent. I'm glad you did that for him. I'm surprised. I wasn't sure if you actually would. Are you guys, Brent? Are you going to the party or no?
I might be able to see some like nice stars and stuff tonight by the lake, so it sounds like a good spot, but maybe like a little too bright for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what. I could use some company. I was gonna go with my cousin, take a look around at some stuff, but if y'all want to come with, I'd be happy for it.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Cool. By the way, have you guys heard anything about a raft on the water? And we're walking and talking about this.
For sure.
Damn, my dad's been up in arms about that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It was about the kid. The kid whispered something to me about a raft before he died, and I don't know. It stuck in my head. I'm wondering if something happened on a raft and people are trying to keep it secret. I'm trying to figure out what was going on.
Are all the rafts accounted for at the dock?
So for the record, when we're talking about what they have at the actual camp, we're mainly talking about like larger canoes and kayaks, right? There's not a lot of rafts. There is sort of one of the activities, one of the like wilderness survival activities that gets done eventually is, building a small raft is one of those. Obviously not too worried about deforestation here. Not a big deal. So that is something that you would have interacted with a little bit. I will say, Clark, you can go ahead and roll plus sharp like you're investigating a mystery. To see
I was going to ask
up on something.
2d6, right?
Yeah, 2d6, and then you're going to add your sharp skill. So I didn't really cover this very well. We are playing in the Monster of the Week system, one of my personal favorites. It is very simple. You just have a couple of stats. You roll 2d6 and add them, and you sort of have these success ranges. Anytime you roll a 6 or lower, you fail. Something very bad happens. Anytime you roll a 7 to 9, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Anytime you roll a 10 plus, perfect. Everything goes exactly as well as it could have.
I got an 11.
With an 11, looking at sort of your options here for investigative mystery, you would be able to hold 2, but I'm going to give you some pretty specific information because you chose to play Elias's son and you wanted to tie yourself in that way. Your dad has been extremely anxious about the summer camp's success this whole year. Every time one of these incidents would happen where somebody would drown in the lake, your dad would be a wreck for a few days of nerves. Not the most empathetic guy. I'm not saying he was, crying over spilled milk. He would just be very, very concerned, always asking people to check up, trying to increase the amount of lifeguards. It's worth noting for this summer camp that ideally should have a few. Brett is one of several lifeguards keeping the lake safe at all hours, which in 76 is not the most common thing, having something so much. With not a mix, but a full success, you remember thinking back, what was Clark's grandfather's name?
Clark's grandfather? Jeb.
Jeb?
Mm.
You
Jebediah.
remember Jebediah Findale, Jeb to his family and friends. We catch this memory as Brett brings up the raft. We swing the camera over to Clark, and Clark, we catch a memory. We see a young actor who has been hired who does not look enough like the actual actor for Clark, because this is a slasher from the 70s and the budget is low. Doesn't look like you at all. Talking to this older gentleman, Jeb Findale. And we see like a smattering of memories of you playing around the park in the area and Jeb watching you for the day, yelling out across the space, "Don't you go anywhere near that damn lake!" Always. Jebediah Findale told you to stay away from the lake. Like he was afraid of it. And that just sort of sticks in your head here for a minute. That some of the older members of your family always told you, steer clear of the lake. No need to risk. Don't be careful. Dip your toes in, and that's it. And that just sort of sits in your mind heavy for a few moments.
Yeah, nice. So, yeah, I mean, my Gramps Jeb, he always said, don't go in the lake. I'm assuming it was like tides or something.
Huh. Was he a good swimmer or not?
Was he what?
Was he a good swimmer?
The kid, yeah. I mean, he was out in the water. He was young, but not like super young. He definitely knew his way around the water. He's been coming to the camp for a while.
Oh man.
I don't know. It's just what he said that had me hung up. And while I'm talking about thinking it was weird, I do look back and I see the journal on the ground, and I double back and I scoop it up. And I'm holding that in my hand because I don't want to untuck my waistband for any reason.
It's such a good scene. As we walk back, we catch a moment as you bring that up and look over, and you stop and look over your shoulder, and in this like ghostly yellow flickering fluorescent light, we see sitting in the middle of the road, in the middle of the walkway, in the middle of the path here, we see this book, a little stained with dust now, and you double back and scoop it up, and you see, sure enough, your cousin's book, The New American Monster, written shortly after the Revolution, but full of annotations and notations in many different handwritings. You maybe see a few in your cousin Xavier's sort of cramped handwriting, filling out the pages.
I'm not gonna read it right now, but I'm gonna keep the book on me just in case. Brett doesn't believe in this. Bunch of hooey.
Yeah. All right. And you guys head off into the night. Where are we headed? Where's our new band of 3 here headed off to? 2 of you sort of bound to make sure that the camp is okay tonight. The third of you, Branch, seemingly just sort of a constantly conscientious fellow, worried about these fellows having heard about the drowning of Victor Miller.
Party.
Yeah, we're going straight to the party. I agree with Clark, but for the opposite reason.
The vibes change immediately. We take the hardest left ever from Friday the 13th into 1990 whatever's Dazed and Confused. The music changes. I don't know if we're in the right year, but like hooked on it, like the one feeling song, you know, the one that I'm going for.
Yeah.
It's more than a feeling. We sort of swing in to this party. We see a large keg centrally located. We see Clayton Duggins with a very broken nose doing a keg stand. It's been set. I rolled a 5, not that well. He is drinking away some of his sorrows. We get a weird smattering of music. The kids that have enough money to have a cassette player or a boombox are listening to their own music, mixed with a couple of cheaper AM/FM radios that are swinging around. The music clashing discordantly off of one another, plagued by static, but everybody having the time of their lives. Brett, as you make your way up through the wood line, followed in stereo by Branch and Clark, you see the fruits of your many deals this evening, as there is a just cartoonish cloud of smoke over a good chunk of this party. Some of the younger campers, there's nobody much below, you know, maybe like the north end of 15 here. This is kind of the big, we are the oldest kids, and for many of us this is our last year at summer camp party, as it is. All of these people are going to wake up tomorrow to watch the boat race from this bank, and sure enough, as you look over to the side, you can see the finish line. You can see the place where that boat race comes to an end on the opposite end of the lake. As another keg is sort of being wheeled into place, you see some loose beers for many different things, maybe a couple of bottles of actual liquor from people who either had the money or who have an older sibling who can help them to get together what they need. This is just about the only party where counselors and campers coexist. The less responsible counselors sort of willing to kind of let loose. We see an exchange that maybe you guys don't fully understand. I'm not even sure if you can hear it. We see somebody looking over. They toss a thumb out at one of the kegs and goes, "Hey, where's Rob? I saw he dropped off the keg, but I haven't seen him." And the other guy goes, "You know, I don't know. He was supposed to be back around. I haven't seen him, and I haven't seen Rob or Ed. Huh. All right, maybe we'll go look for him later." And the two of them sort of peter off. Those two that we saw yesterday, their fate discussed by some of the other cohort. As the three of you arrive at this party, I think maybe we cut through. What I would like from the three of you is to know, what is your goal in this next block of time? This party's going to go all night. Who's trying to just have a good time, and who sort of has something else stewing around in their brain? If you are here to have a good time, you are going to roll plus cool, and we're going to see what kind of day you're having. I would accept a plus charm if your thing was, you know, I'm trying to be social and have a good time. But I think for the most part, rolling plus cool is just so funny. If one of you, however, is staying on the case, then it would be, you know, maybe plus sharp, maybe plus something else. What are our goals tonight? Walk me through what each of you is trying to do.
I think I want to kind of be more mindful of the total group of people and just sort of like take my shoes off, go over to the edge of the lake, sort of like step into the shallows, and anyone who seems like a little too off their rocker, I'll just like kind of like go up to them, say like, "Hello, oh, there's your friends over there. I think they're looking for you," and kind of like redirect them away from the lake.
So you straight up go a couple of steps into the lake and are just goal line defense. You're trying to make sure no one drowns tonight, for sure. Okay. You know, maybe appreciate it somewhat. You look like just a lake enthusiast and are turning the drunker kids away and out to other areas. That's great to know. I'll have you roll in a minute, but first let's get what everybody else is up to. Who wants to talk about what they're doing next?
Brett is going to be investigating. He still thinks there's just some killer out there drowning kids.
I forgot about that. I forgot that you thought that like somebody drowned him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what he's on.
Awesome. For a second from your roleplay earlier, I thought you were going to roleplay Brett being like, "This is going to be the best night of my life." Just moving completely. I was like, that's hilarious.
The vice almost got him to be like, I'm gonna party, but no, he still is like, there's something going on.
You've got the weight of the book and your gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, no, that is one of the scenes we see. Like like a cartoon dog smelling an apple pie, we see Brett like look over at one of the groups passing around a joint, and I think we literally see him look down at his left hand. The camera wipes to the book, and we get like a really dramatic like head shake and a deep breath. Clark, what are you up to?
I am mostly having fun.
Nice.
Dad said to keep it clean. I'm not keeping it clean, but I am keeping my ear out. One of the main things I'm listening for is if anyone's trying to do any sabotages for the race tomorrow. if anyone's trying to get on the lake to either put up a trap or break some boats or anything like that, because I feel like that'd be a big thing that might happen. Probably happened in the past, but
Absolutely.
mostly doing that through giving people drinks and drinking with them.
Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, there's sort of two different races that are going to happen tomorrow. The first one is going to be a much bigger deal. It's kind of the varsity race. It's the older kids divided by cabin, trying to see, who's going to win. And then much later in the day, there's the sort of JV version, which is done later so that all the kids are there. There's more people to watch. It's a much shorter race. So you're sort of trying to see if anybody is going to cheat in the varsity kind of version. I can't think of a better term for it, so I'll have to use junior varsity and varsity for now. If something better occurs to me, I'll switch it up.
The Weeblos and the senior Weeblos.
Something, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so I guess we'll start there. I see Spencer's solving some interpersonal mystery. So I'm going to start with you, Michael. Clark, go ahead and roll plus charm, I think. It sounds like you're schmoozing, trying to get some intel. I'm trying to, for those of you watching now or in the future, I have my notes in front and cameras over here.
Oh,
so
my God.
Instinct is to look over at you guys, and I'm trying to very different setup than normal for me. I'm not sure. I might switch back in the future.
That was double sixes, so that's a 13.
Whoa! Okay. I mean, I think you rolled plus charm, but
Yeah.
So here's what I'll give you. I'll give you a choice. You're either rolling manipulate someone to keep people from cheating, in which case it'll be a complete success. You will absolutely get a bunch of people fired up about the race in a way where they want to win for real, not by cheating. Or we can call that, despite it being charm, investigating a mystery, and we hit a couple of questions. Which of those two would you rather do?
I think it'd be more fun to investigate.
Sure. Okay, so investigating a mystery. Great. No, I like it. I think it's fun. We're just going to kind of have to narrow some of the questions a little bit to something that makes a little bit more sense for what we're doing. So, looking down at our list here for investigating a mystery, we have what happened here, what sort of creature is it, what can it do, what can hurt it, where did it go, what was it going to do, what is being concealed here. Yeah, I think that makes more sense than read a bad situation. There's no pressing danger that we're encountering.
No.
So of those, I know I went through them quick. Is there two of those you're interested in?
So I get to pick two?
Yeah, because you rolled so high.
Yeah, it'd be what can it do? How are they thinking about sabotaging or cheating?
Okay.
And then
do you want me to answer that first?
No, I'm trying to remember. Was there where is it?
Yeah, where did it go?
Yeah, where did it go?
Yeah, so a how and where.
Okay. I like it. Okay, what can it do? Where did it go? And you're not asking this about, whatever is going on with Victor Miller. You're asking that about these kids. So as far as what can it do, you discover that a couple of the cabins that want to win no matter what, that aren't really concerned with anything else, a couple of them have gotten together a few tools and things, basically taking a couple of things from the woodworking cabin, a couple of things from the arts and crafts cabin, and have a toolbox hidden off in the woods. They are planning later tonight to go grab that toolbox, run out, and do some damage to some of these other groups' canoes, which have been kind of decorated. Some of it is simple as like, we're going to drill a hole in the bottom. Nothing too complicated. Other groups that are a little bit more clever and are trying to go unnoticed are planning far more elaborate schemes. They're going to weaken the oars so that they snap while they are canoeing. They're, like screwing weights into the bottom of the raft to drag them down and slow them down. There's a couple of more clever plans whipping around. So that's as far as what can it do. As far as where did it go? I'll say one of the boys, and I'm going to say this is a group of, Never mind, I was thinking about having this be one of the teams that we had spoken to earlier. No, you end up with this sort of group of less than scrupulous cool kids. So it is a little bit more of a mixed gender group who are talking to you about their plan. And one of them does show you where they've hidden this gear. And so you can see that sort of tucked into like a rocky outcropping, there is a toolbox hidden underneath of things that it occurs to you that some of these items have been missing for a while, and you have now discovered where a couple of hatchets and some other tools went missing that people have been complaining about for a little while now.
Yeah, cool. The one that does tell me, I give him a buck and say, hey, give me a beer.
Nice. You send off some, 16-year-old with a buck to go grab you a beer and come back. Super great. All right, so you know that that's happening, and you have these tools. I think that we can call that a little bit of weapon equip load if as we go, you guys are looking for some of that. What I'll say is anytime you can rope those tools into a plan, you're going to get a +1.
Cool.
So that's how that'll affect the future of our adventure here. Moving up the list to Branch. Branch, you're on Lake Watch. I think it's probably going to be protect someone or act under pressure. So you can either roll plus cool or roll plus tough.
All right, I guess, yeah, maybe acting under pressure since I am in the water.
Sure.
All right. And that is 6.
Oof. Okay, a 6 is a total failure. I'm going to give you the opening here. You can take that fail, or you can spend a plot point.
Yeah,
What are you thinking?
I think maybe one of the people that like wanders a little too far into the water, I'm trying to tell them to just like go back, and then like all of a sudden like my face turns a little pale and my stomach starts acting up, and I'm just like, and like just kind of scare them away with like the nausea. Just like,
So
hold on, just go over there, please. Oh, please.
you burn that first point, and for those of you watching at home who are familiar with Monster of the Week, rather than playing with a full bar of luck, we are playing with only 3, and they are our plot armor points. When you spend one, you have to do a horror movie trope, and when you spend your last one, you will be killed next. So it is sort of damning your character for success. You burn your first one, that was close. As you sort of like, as your illness returns, feeling a little sick, this go, don't yarts on me, dude! Like, backpedals out of the water. As you are leaning forward, you slip and feel your weight go as you slide down an incline that you didn't realize you'd sort of been abutted to. Brett and Clark, the two of you, look up just in time to see Branch standing in the lake drop into the water, gone. Just as you're like starting to run up, maybe kicking off your shoes, he stumbles back up, spits out a little bit of water, and goes back up on the beach.
I peel like a long strand of like sort of like kelp or something off my hand and just like toss it at them. Just be like, "Oh man, guys, keep your footing if you come out here."
But over the course
You
of this
gotta
first
stay
section-
closer to the beach.
Yeah, I'm getting a little lost in the dark. I'll head over there now.
But you do manage to keep anybody else from wandering out into the water.
All right, and I will pull out the Watchman flashlight that I have too, just to like kind of keep it like lit up in the water and just like
Click.
like swing it around so I can like see if anyone else wanders too close too.
Brett and Clark, you're catching the edge of a lot of conversations that split about 50-50 down the middle. Some people think that Branch is being incredibly sweet by sort of taking care of everybody, and a bunch of other people think that he is being an absolute weirdo and a killjoy, and it's very mixed. It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, as he is sort of really on defense here. And then last up in our order here, Brett, you're investigating. Your nose to the grindstone, trying to find out what was going on. I'm going to say that reads to me either as investigate a mystery or read a bad situation, trying to figure out if danger is going to emerge here. Which of those two do you think you're sort of aiming towards?
I think it's going to be read a bad situation, because I overheard that thing about Ed and the other person whose name I didn't write down.
That is Ed and Rob.
I've heard that thing about Ed and Rob, and I'm going to start asking questions about that. Because if two more people are supposed to be here and aren't, something could be going on. So I'm going to be looking around for that. I'm trying to read that situation.
All right, go ahead and roll plus sharp.
All right.
Oh, and as we get deeper into the mystery, so we were mostly introducing the adventure, the mystery last time. As we're getting into making some of these like meatier rolls, I do recommend we do have up in the drive. And for those of you playing Monster of the Week in the future, there are these very helpful cheat sheets that list out the questions. So it might be worth pulling that up just so that we can, I'll go over them once either way, but just so that we can sort of keep them all straight in our heads. What was the result of your roll?
That was a total of 12.
Huge. Great. All right. With that, hold 3. You can answer all these right away, or you can tuck one in your pocket and you can say like, I'm going to hold one of these questions till later. Your options: what's my best way in? What's my best way out? Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? What's the biggest threat? What's most vulnerable to me? What's the best way to protect the victims?
All right. I'll list out the 3 off rip. First off, are there any dangers we haven't noticed?
Great.
What's my best way out? What's the best way to protect the victims?
I'll be back.
Okay, I'm going to answer these 3 kind of narratively here as we follow. While the rest of this is going on, you're moving throughout the party. You see Clark, like, schmoozing with people, cracking jokes. He even talks to Clayton for a little while, who immediately, I'll say, Clark, takes the opportunity to badmouth Brett and tell you, specifically, you discover that the way that Clayton is framing it to people is saying, like, I hear Brett drowned a kid. Like, he is really just outright saying it. I rolled for that last time. He rolled very poorly. It's just that no one believes him that Brett would drown a kid. He's selling way too hard. So you're sort of overhearing that. Brett, we're going to answer what's my best way out as all of this is going on. These conversations are sort of tipping in and out. And you see that pulled into the tree line off of the access road that is behind this area. You see a couple of cars have been parked here. Most of them are people, you see a few trucks, you see a couple of other cars. Mostly these are absolutely stitched together junkers that these, late teens, early 20s people can afford. You do see that against all logic, Philip Bradley has brought the Firebird.
Nice.
You see, sorry, the Thunderbird. You see that just off the side is his way too nice, way too souped up car. That is, it's clear that he hasn't rolled it, but he's hit a tree probably. Like, there's the one front end is kind of cricked off to the side. There's a pretty heavy scratch up the side, but this thing would run and it would get you pretty far, pretty good. And the other thing is, there are a couple of canoes pulled in to the dock behind you. Some of these kids rowed across the lake. And you know that one of the things that a lot of people do during this party is they'll take a canoe out and stargaze.
Nice.
As you are sort of looking around, taking stock of the cars, you're moving your way in and around, looking at each of them. looking for which ones have the keys inside. And a few of them you do see have the keys just like are unlocked with the keys sitting in like the cup holder towards the middle. You file that away. As you move up, you sort of climb up a little bit of a hill to get a look at the wider party. Best way to protect the victims. You see a lot of people are like drinking and joking around, and you're looking out at those canoes. If somebody is causing trouble, going out on that water is going to be a terrible choice. Your friend Branch is taking care of some of that, but in a couple of hours, when people are having a really good time and they want to go stargaze, they want to go out on the lake and smoke and joke around, it's going to be hard to stop people. That's your best way to protect the victims. Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? As you're looking up and around, I think that this is after the exchange with Branch where he falls into the water, and suddenly you're standing up on this hill. You go to turn, and the rock that your right foot is on slips, and you tumble backwards a little bit. You fall harmlessly. Your back rocks into a tree just enough to kind of blur your vision. You sit up, look over to your right, and we see Brett's eyes go wide as you look over and you see the body of Robert Martin, who they called Rob. You knew Rob. Rob was the guy that would smuggle beer. You look over and Robert is dead. Front of his clothes stained red, a hole in the middle of his chest. He is leaning to the back. You look behind him and see his truck pulled off to the side of the road. You're maybe 60 feet, 100 feet from everybody else. You sit up looking around. No sign of Ed anywhere. Rob is this, big, broad-shouldered guy. He's one of like 6 brothers, most of which are older than him. That's how he can always get a hold of like a keg of beer consistently. Ed, an only child, much mousier. Rob and Ed have been inseparable for as long as anybody has known them. They are best friends and are always around each other. They're both on the baseball team. They do everything together. You're almost surprised to not also see Ed's body somewhere.
Oh,
What
fuck.
do you do?
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Brett stands up and runs out. He can't be found here. He was where the last kid died. He can't be where this guy dies. He has a gun on him. He doesn't know what's going on, so he's out of here.
I was really hoping you weren't going to think of that.
Oh.
When I said it, I was like, yeah, no. You go to maybe shout and then look down, and your right hand, propped up against the ground, you lift it up, is covered in blood. Looking around, you think better of it. Remember what just happened and the tude that Clayton's been giving, and making your way around. You walk all the way around the hill out to the lake to wash your hands off, and then make your way back to the party. You walk up basically right alongside Branch as you call for Clark. I hand it back off to you guys.
Yeah. Remember, don't go too deep into the water there, Brett.
Don't worry, Branch. I'm coming over to you right now.
All right, great. Yeah, these kids are all over the place tonight.
Yeah, they're definitely all over. Clark, come on. Clark, where are you?
I'm daring a kid to do something stupid for $5.
Yeah, you found one of the karate enthusiasts that would spend way too much time with Xavier, and you're trying to convince him to do a backflip over the bonfire for $5, and are really trying to push this negotiation. Go ahead, you know what? Roll plus charm. Let's see if you can. Let's see if you can get this. And then I am gonna roll for this team. Oh, I have a better idea.
Oh my god.
What'd you get?
Oh my god.
What'd you get?
I got an 11.
Nice. I'm gonna be so real with you. 7 to 9, he was gonna burn himself. 10 plus, he was actually gonna pull it off. You're maybe not on purpose, Clark. You've spent so much time learning to get people excited, learning to public speak. You kind of can't help but inject energy into the party. You're not even really trying to. And then you're chatting it out with this kid. And you're like, come on, man. Everybody will think it's I'll give you $5. Everyone's going to think it's so cool. And you see this kid.
See Jenny over there? She's going to think it's so rad.
And some like red fills his cheeks. He's like, yeah. Gets into position. And you watch this Tai Chi ass kid who probably does it at like Dave's back home dojo. Does in fact do one of those like good tuck flips over the fire. There's like an explosion of excitement as yeah! And you kind of cut away over to where Brett and Brandon.
I clap it on the back and give him his $5.
Yeah, you give him a king's ransom and head over to Brett and Branch.
Brett in the water is distracted by this display. It's like, holy shit! I can't believe he just did that. That's crazy. Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
I believe he did awesome. He's getting late tonight.
Hey, Clark, Branch.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
I think that the reality of the situation is setting in a little bit more for me. I know that kid died. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. I did just stumble upon something that makes me think that it wasn't, because there is another dead body in the woods right over there.
Goodness, what?
For the record, $5 in 1976 is about $28.24 in today's money. We nailed that conversion. We were like, it's got to be $5.
Yeah, Rob, the one with the big family, brings beer and stuff. He's dead,
Did you see him get killed, or?
So I assume you sort of
he was
turned away
cold.
from the party.
Oh, no.
Like,
yeah,
chatting
we're
this
huddling
out.
in the water. Yeah, no, dude, he's been dead.
Wow. And his friend, no sight of him. Then should we go looking for him, or I guess call the cops again, or what?
Here's the thing. I got my shit all up in that crime scene because I fell into it when I found it. I can't be associated with that. I get in trouble one more time, I'm out. My mom's gonna kick me out of the house. I can't. I don't know what to do. Clark, this is kind of your camp. What?
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah. Well, if we find Ed, like he can definitely clear your name.
If there's a serial killer out on the water or something, I don't know if we're gonna find Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. My dad's gonna kill me for this one.
You see,
Oh, no.
as this conversation pipes up, Clark letting out my dad's gonna kill me, and Brett saying like, there could be a serial killer on the lake. You see, not the whole party doesn't stop and look at you, but a couple of people who weren't really talking to people are like looking over a little bit as they catch. Maybe they don't know what they heard, catching a little bit of an edge or two of a conversation.
Look,
Well, I mean, like, should we get the kids to safety then, or what?
they're not gonna clear out. This is the party of the summer. They're not gonna go. But here's the thing. I don't believe in all this stuff. My cousin was insisting that there was something going on in the water, something like grabbed him, whatever. It was a natural what happened to Victor. I don't think I trust these canoes on the water. I think maybe we got to do something to them so they can't. If something goes bad, I don't want anybody on the water, just in case. Whether I believe in it or not, maybe somebody's on a raft out there waiting for it. I think maybe we use those tools that you're talking about before, sabotage these ships.
Yeah, or we can like even tie them up against the tree line too. Get them well away from the water.
They would see us. That'd be maybe a little bit too much. That's the problem. If we try and drag the boats out, the kids who brought them are going to say, "Hey, what are you doing with my boat?" But if we just take a quick hatchet, crack it, maybe they won't notice, and it sinks a little bit in.
Well,
So
I agree with you. We gotta do a bit more than just a crack, because then they won't notice it, and then they're gonna be on the lake.
Then you'll drown the kids. Yeah.
So sinking the boats then? Right
You
now?
don't even have to do that. Take their horse. Nobody's gonna paddle without oars. That's all that makes me tired.
The only thing I will add is if you want the +1, I would rope those tools in.
Yeah.
That's all. Listen, you can. That's fine. We don't need to do that. All I'm saying is, if you want to try to like employ that, finding a way to sort of like get some sabotage going might get you that +1 forward. If you're confident that you can get that roll in, grab all the ores, toss them in the bed of one of the trucks, call it a night. That's a good plan. It's just what are we angling for?
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go to the toolbox. I'm gonna grab those weights they're planning on installing on the ships. Tie them off on the oars, throw them deep into the water where they can't see them. I'll walk out a little bit, drop them in. They won't be able to find them. They'll be sunk. No problem. Branch, if you can go investigate that spot in the woods that I was talking about, and I look back at the shore to make sure nobody's really listening, that would be great. Take a look, see if you can find tracks or something. Maybe he took off.
Yeah, I'll click my flashlight on and off and nod, and then go that way.
Perfect. Clark, go distract the fuck out of the party. When I'm dropping these oars off, I don't want anybody seeing it.
Yeah, I think you've already done that a little bit, Clark. If there's anything else you want to do, we certainly can. But that backflip roll was fantastic. So I think there is sort of a jubilant focus going on. People are pretty jazzed. But if you have something else you want to add to that, you certainly could. As Brett, you're sort of making your way over. I think it's got to be act under pressure. You're just trying to, as quickly and as quietly as possible, get this done. You're going to roll plus cool with an additional +1.
All right. Let's see.
Now, Clark, my question for you is, are you just rolling to manipulate someone and distract, or are you rolling to help out to try to get Brett a bonus?
He seems like he was more afraid of getting caught, so I'm going to distract more.
Okay, great. So go ahead and roll plus charm for me, and tell me what you're doing. Cut me off a slice, Michael.
I'm fully making a new drinking game and getting the whole party in on it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, go ahead and roll, and then based on how successful the roll is, we'll see how good the game is.
All right. Charm or cool?
This is charm. This is manipulate
Charm.
someone. You're trying to pull attention, pull focus.
That is a 10.
Rolling rocks today, Miguel.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
It's nothing but
I love
sixes
it.
and something.
Perfect. You grab all the people you know who already like beer pong, and you start teaching beer pong to everybody who hasn't been taught it before. With a couple of cups out, you start to sort of get people interested in that, pulling focus in. It's a classic. People are trying to find places to play it in other spots. As all of that attention is pulled, rather than giving a +1, you will sort of neutralize the worst options for Brett, if you know what I mean. Do you have anything you want to add as you're sort of spicing up the crowd and getting the party, really going?
Oh no, I'm trying to get everyone unbelievably drunk that the thought of going on a lake is just
I know, it's funny. Sort of
like,
send it too hard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think what happens is you get a couple of groups playing beer pong. Brett, as you're going out to here, you hear Clark's voice ring over the party. Now try it with whiskey. Playing beer pong with 2 shots of whiskey in each cup. This is going to be a disaster of an evening for these people. They will all learn what a hangover is. Brett, coming off a slice, what's going on?
So Brett, first off, as everybody else walked out of the water, did walk off as well to grab that toolbox, grab those weights and some duct tape to tie it off. But he hears that shout as he's retrieving the tools and walks back over to the water. He grabs the oars and he starts tying them off. I did roll 1 plus 2, so 4. But I'm going to burn... going to burn plot armor.
Okay, a perfect use of burning plot armor. You gathering together all these oars, tie them together. You see that the weights that they have is a mix. Some of it is just little odd bits of scrap metal that they've clung together. Some of it easy to hide. Or, excuse me. Ooh. Guys, I gotta be honest, there was some acid in that burp. I need a second.
Do you have water?
The killer's got him.
You don't want that to happen when you're streaming. But let me say that to those of you in the future, that's not ideal.
Especially if it gets in your lungs.
Ooh, that was tough. All right, yeah, you see that there are those like big bass fishing weights. So there's some that can be like really carefully hidden. You don't got to worry about that. Wrapping these together, you go to move out to the edge of the dock to toss them in, and you slip and fall into the water completely. You look up, your eyes open, seeing the moon sort of like scintillating, wavering through the water. Those oars leaving behind you. You feel something grab the back of your shirt and pull you downwards. You start to panic and kick up a little bit. You manage to lean forward, look back. There's nothing there.
What the fuck?
And you felt something pull you. You get back up onto shore, looking around, a little white in the face, a little startled.
I take the second oar here, and I'm going to try and affix it to the side of the dock. So that way there is a backup one.
Okay.
Nobody will be able to find it except for us, but if we need it, we can grab it and we can try and take off.
So you sort of reach down and tie it to one of these, legs of this dock so that it's a little hard to see, especially at night, but you know exactly where it is and could grab it in a second if you needed it. All right. Great. Cool. With that, I'm going to check in with Branch. Branch, with this distraction, with this other work going, you've been sent to investigate some bodies. Talk to me about Branch. Is this like way out of character for you? Are you this sort of macabre kid? Does your dad own a funeral home? Like, where are we at here?
He stumbled upon like deer carcasses on occasion on the trails. Sometimes like hunters, if they have their quota, they might dump one or something or like that. So he's prepared for that, but I think the realization that like this guy that he's like seen before, chatted with, is now like dead and gone is like sending like a chill down his spine, and since he's still drenched, he's like extra shivery too. So he's like walking towards the area.
You turn the corner, your chest a little bit of flutter. You've seen a dead deer, but you haven't seen this. Turn to the corner, you see the body of Robert Martin. Rob, everybody's talked to Rob. He's, a very social dude from a big family, treats everybody like one of his brothers. You look down, a moment of panic. Go ahead and roll. What are you going for in this situation? What are you trying to do?
I guess just looking for tracks and any sort of signs of like what could have done this.
An absolutely classic investigative mystery, I think.
Yeah.
Right on the nail. Hit the nail right on the head. Boy, my mind, that acid burp really threw me off my game, guys. No. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, go ahead. What's the result?
All right. 10.
Awesome. Okay, you're holding 2. What happened here? What sort of creature is it? What can it do? What can hurt it? Where did it go? What was it gonna do? What is being concealed here? And buddy, you got a crime scene. You can ask any of these.
I guess like probably what happened here and where did it go? Because like if he was like brought here or killed here, and then where did it go from here is kind of like the in and out of like whatever like investigative reaction I'm having to this.
Absolutely. You've done your fair share of probably a little bit of do you do any hunting, or are you just tracking, taking pictures, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like more like I guess naturalist stuff, so like taking pictures and stuff, like following the creature, seeing like where the bears like go barreling through and stuff, or like if there are any coyotes or foxes kind of like chowing down on small prey.
Looking in, taking in the scene, you see this body. As you get a little bit of a closer look, you roll him up onto the side. You can see that he was stabbed through the back, and whatever it was pierced all the way through and out the front. It's very clean. It's a very sharp angled puncture, but it's pretty wide. It doesn't look like a, like a knife or something. It looks more like, with that success, it looks more like a pick. Like maybe fully a pickaxe was driven through his back.
Goodness.
As you're looking around, I think that's still what happened here, and I don't feel like that's enough of an answer for you. You keep poking around, and you see a little bit of a scene emerge here. You see a couple of bloody handprints on the hood of the truck. You see some scattered leaves, some broken branches. Quickly, a picture emerges in your mind. Robert Martin steps out of the car, takes this hit, puts his hand out on the truck. You see another set, probably Ed Green, running forward to catch his friend, and then running into the woods. Something chased Ed Green. Somebody chased Ed Green out of here. For any of you with watchful ears, Edward Green is Roger Green's cousin, the person that has been framed essentially for the death of Victor Miller. Looking out at this, that's what you put together. With where did it go, you can follow those tracks as easy as anything. You clearly see where they go off. He broke all kinds of branches. You see threads of clothing fibers. You could follow this thing if it was later at night and there was less light out.
Great. I guess I will mark this path then, because it seems like he died like more recently or a while back. Like, I guess I'll probably want to go get the crew to show them the path.
He's only been dead about 2 or 3 hours. So gosh, guys, I really just don't know this much about forensics. He would be a little cooler, but I don't think that's rigor mortis territory, right? It's just a few hours.
He would be cold, but he'd be loose. You could move him around.
Yeah. Well, if this happened, I was like, for me, or for Branches, if this had just happened and he had just run that way, then I'd probably have chased him. But if it seems like this body's been sitting here for a bit, I'll definitely go back and try and get Brett and Clark to follow this trail.
Yeah. Okay. You all circle back up. All of the canoe oars thrown in the lake except for one. Clark, these people are blasted. There's not a sober person.
Good.
I'm going to say at this point, Clark, you're pretty drunk yourself. You're starting to stumble around a little bit. If I could, I would like to give you -1 sharp, but +1 charm going forward. As you are pretty drunk, pretty loose. -1 sharp, +1 charm. As you have sort of really gotten into the party here. We watch this convert back. Brett, you see Branch. What is Branch looking like? What's Branch feeling like as he comes around from investigating a murder scene?
He's his eyes look like a little bit more wild and unsteady than normal, and he sort of is darting back between Clark and Brett. It's just okay, guys. So just there's it's all right, but there's a new trail I wanted to check out and propose to you, Clark. If you want to come see it now, if you need a breather, just to see if it'll be a good path.
I hand him a shot. You seem stressed. Here you go.
Thank you. Yeah, cool.
Branch takes a shot. Depending on what the sort of social panic was when this movie was made, that might have been your death sentence. But we'll say the parents are more worried about something else. So you down this shot, and the three of you, it sounds like, head off into the woods. We had a lot of successes, not too much trouble. I was hoping to take Clayton Duggins out of my belt and have him cause a ruckus, but we had mostly successes with a couple of burned luck points. You guys wander off to follow this trail. For the first time, Clark, you see the body of Robert Martin here. You see his big Ford pickup right behind him off to the one side, a little bit rust damaged. It's a flatbed. The sides have been he was moving a keg earlier. It's not a flatbed. That keg would not have stayed in there. It is a normal truck with sort of normal sides. I got too flavorful. You see that the keys are on the ground next to the truck, like he dropped them, assumably when he was killed. And you all see, after he points it out to you, this path leading off. You see a set of footprints headed off into the night.
Yeah. No
What do
Ed,
you
but
do?
Ed might be that way, guys. And keep an eye out for any very sharp, piercing objects as far as Rob's former encounter went.
Yeah, he points out to all of you that wound that looks like it was made with, maybe a pickaxe, maybe a fire axe, like the back end of one of those, like a spike made to drive through sheet metal or something.
I don't
Wait,
want to
says-
stress you guys. I don't want to stress you guys out, but in the water, I fell in for a second when I was trying to drop the oars, and something grabbed me, like pulled me, and I looked back. I didn't see anybody. So just keep your eyes peeled. Whatever it is, whoever it is, and he like shakes his head a little bit. He says, "Must be quick. Must be quick."
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
When
Hopefully
you guys
it's
say
working.
that, when you guys say that, I get my weapon out, my 9-iron. All
Pick
right.
up this golf club.
Yeah.
What a perfect tableau. I love this golf club heading off into the woods.
Yeah, I guess I will lead the three of us with the flashlight, and I'll just be like, well, if they were quick, I just hope Ed was quicker.
Very important question. I can't believe I forgot to ask this. So we've been playing like 8 to 11, but last session I know we had to pull a little early. 10, 10:30, 11, what are we thinking? What's our close time? We should have talked about this before we got on stream, but it's too late now and I gotta know. What's our wrap-up time here, boys?
Between 10 and 10:30 for me.
Does
Yeah,
that
if we
work
can
for
cut
everybody? Does anybody
if we
need
can
to be out?
cut a sharp 10:15, I'm happy with that.
All right.
Sorry, I work at 5 a.m.
Our viewers now and in the future have been trying to get us to play earlier for so long.
I-
And now everybody's like, oh, I have to get up at 5 a.m. And I'm like, then why do we start our stream at 8:30? No, it's fine.
I'm always cool starting early.
You guys head off into the woods. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit, knowing that that's our finish time. We follow the path out into the woods, and we keep cutting back and forth to the two knights being had on this same evening. At the party, we see, to the tunes of some of the great hits of the mid-70s, we see people drinking, having fun, joking around. We see teens running off into the woods, grabbing each other's hands to go get a little frisky. And then we cut back to you three moving out in the woods. A single flashlight beam out in front. That 9-iron glinting in moonlight. Brett, is the gun out?
The gun isn't out, but I've got my hand around my back holding on to it.
Brett's hand unconsciously dragging towards his back, and maybe the other. You can't stop looking at that book, thumbing through the pages, flipping through to some of the dog-eared notes that your cousin left behind. You see the drowned. Again and again, this vengeful spirit. But it can't be. It's gotta just be. It's some kid who got too into his thing. It's some kid who started playing Dungeons and Dragons and got lost in a fantasy world. Fun fact, that's how the guy who played Forrest Gump, one of Tom Hanks' first movies is a horror story about the dangers of role-playing games.
Nice.
You guys heading out into the night, following these footprints. You watch as they sort of wind out into the woods. You keep following and following. Eventually, they start to turn off towards the right, heading towards the entrance of that access trail. Whoever it was ran their way back to the road, started to move that way after they caught their bearings. And you start to see some blood. Not a lot, enough to sow maybe a scratch, maybe a deep cut along this pathway. We cut back to a couple of kids, one of them grabbing the sides of one of the canoes, looking around, trying to find one of the oars. We hear some commotion and yelling. We see a really disappointed girl who is about to be taken on a very romantic canoe ride. That's not happening tonight. As they're looking around, we hear somebody be like, who the fuck took all the oars? Sort of ringing out over the space. You guys maybe are just close enough to catch the edge of that and pick up your pace a little bit as you head out. We cut back to you all And as that flashlight beam is moving through the woods, you hear maybe the snapping of a branch. You all stop.
Whoosh.
As you do that, branch, you swing the light over, and the beam falls on the gaping maw of a train tunnel. Pitch black cutting through the side of the mountain, you see those footprints lead into the Centennial Tunnel. There's about a half a mile of pitch black darkness between you and the other side of that tunnel. And you see those footprints and trickles of blood that go out.
Ed, what the fuck were you thinking? Why would he do this? Why would he go in here?
Well, it's not a nice scenic forest trail, but it's a path nonetheless. We better tread it and get him back to camp.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't call the cops until we get him to, verify that it wasn't me. So, if it's not going to be us, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Oh. Time to shine, boys. And I walk on in.
Brett pulls out his gun.
I am drunk. I do not fear.
No, there is no fear. I love it. I have a very essential question. Do you have a semi-automatic pistol, or do you have a revolver?
It's a semi-automatic pistol.
I was like, do you have 6 shots, or do you have like 10?
It's closer to 10. It's probably 10. It doesn't have like an extended mag or anything, so 10.
You don't have an extended. It's not. Come on. No, I wanted to know if we had 6, because that's a nice round.
Yeah.
So we'll call it. I'll Google in a minute what the sort of like average capacity of that would have been. You guys head into the tunnel. If this was a syndicated TV show, we would cut to credits, but it's not, and we've got 15 precious minutes left, and so we watch the 3 of you heading forward into the tunnel. Brett, you've never wished harder that Xavier Dragomir was with you than right now.
He would say some weird shit. It'd make me feel so much better.
In the back of your head, you hear, "Into the darkness, once more into the breach, my friends," ring up the back of your neck as you move forward into the dark. The shadows swallowing behind you. The only thing that lets us know that anyone is in that tunnel is the beam of Branch's flashlight. It's 1976, so it's not that bright. we're talking like 85 lumens. This bulb flickering into the distance. You all move deeper into the tunnel. Feel free to stop me at any point and tell me what you're doing, but I'll continue to narrate until you do. You keep following these tracks, moving deeper and deeper. The light behind you starts to shrink. The entrance to the tunnel thinning and thinning. When you reach what is definitively a little bit of a point of no return, the tunnel veers right. You will lose the light behind you if you continue.
Brett, before the light goes, is going to look at the walls of this tunnel to see if there are like electric cables anywhere here for the old power system. He's going to try and find a generator, see if he can get that kick-started for any amount of light.
You reach out, feeling for that, and eventually, with some of Branch's help pointing over, you do see a couple of lines that are nailed into the wall, going down deeper into the tunnel. It doesn't look like there's any lights running through here, and for a minute, you sigh a little bit. As you continue, you see some spots on the wall where there are these cast iron hooks where lanterns maybe could once have been put up here. And then finally, go ahead and make a luck roll for me. So just tell me where you are in that range. So 6 and below, 7 to 9, 10 plus.
10. 5 and 5.
10. You go down, and you do see an emergency light.
Oh.
There's only, looking at this one, you didn't see another one all the way to the entrance of the tunnel. So these are very far apart from one another. These will be little islands of light, if you can find that generator. Grabbing onto the cord connected to that light, you forge off into the dark. deeper into the tunnel. This track kicks ass. As you all continue, now having another thing to guide you. Branch, your flashlight's still on. At this point, for those of you who don't know, getting pretty fucking hot. Those flashlights would get deviously warm by the time they've been on for too long. You guys continue down and in. Half a mile at a slow pace, it's the better part of 20 minutes before you find what you are looking for. Brett, eventually your foot, clang, hits something metal. A little bit of a panic. As Branch, your light goes down, you do see a generator. Sort of pushed up against the wall. It's a small unit. It's nothing too crazy. Just enough to get a couple of lights to light up. And you see that there is a plug in the front where, you know, something could be quickly plugged in an emergency.
I'm plugging it. I'm seeing.
All right. As you go to start up this generator. I'd really like for you to have to roll for this, but I don't see anything super strong in front of me as far as what the game is prepared for. Is there a roll that you think is fair? It's a mix of luck and knowing enough about this generator to get it going. Right? It's not like a nice modern, you know, post-2000s, like, it's not going to have like a priming button and be really easy to start. It's going to be a little bit of a pain. What feels right? Michael, do you have an idea?
It could be rusted and you gotta use a little toughness.
That's fair.
Here's my argument. I think I have one skill that might aid me here. It's not what it's meant for, but it might work. So I've got the driver move, which gives me some driving skills, but I can, quote, hotwire anything.
What do you mean you don't know if that's going to work? Yeah, of course it is. Can I say something to the camera? Thank God I put a Thunderbird in this. I had no idea you had the driver trait. Check. Yeah, you can hotwire anything. Maybe this is just hotwiring something. So what I'll say with that is you look down and see that it is a key. It has a keyed ignition. But with that, you're not worried. You yank that panel off and go to spark these. I don't even think a roll is required. It sounds like this is just in your purview. And we hear this generator kicks up those lights. Let out that awful, like, tink noise that older lights would do. And you get a little bit of a ring in your ears as you see these lights. You see one behind you light up and another one way down the tunnel light up. And it is an ocean of dark between the 2 points of light. Now you have something to go by. You're still having these tracks.
If you're out there, go towards the light.
Ed. It echoes down and out through. Roll plus sharp.
All right. Flat or a 10.
A 10. You hear a muffled sound from further down. You catch the muffled edge of a voice, you think. But it's
he might still be alive. I think he's that way, guys.
Let's go.
You say that, I sprint.
Branch, when we're in the lights, turn off the flashlight. Don't burn the battery, but when we're in the dark, flick it back on. And I take off after Clark.
Flick off that light. You guys turn running. We follow this down. Hopefully the music change fits as we burst into a moment of staccatic action as you guys are running down this tunnel. Eventually that muffled noise getting a little bit louder. Eventually you reach sort of a point where you're looking around and you don't see anything. And then looking off to the wall, you see that, like, hammered into the wall are those iron, like, crossbars, like you would use to climb up telephone poles. The flashlight flicks on and looks up. And you see it's like half collapsed almost. There's an access way that goes up that leads up to not a hatch, but just like a gap where there's this vent, but the vent is bent. And there's this little section that somebody small, somebody like Ed Green, could have squeezed through. And you hear this muffled sound, and it sounds like it's coming from the other side.
All right.
I
As you
look at
move
the
closer,
Other two.
you look up and a little droplet of water hits onto your cheek, Brett. And you look up and you see that the ground has this wide discoloration and a puddle. Like there's been the same puddle in the same place for years and years and years. You're all at least passingly familiar with what this looks like. I cut you off. Go ahead.
I look at Branch and I look at Clark. Clark is not fitting in a space like that. Clark is he's a bigger dude. He's well built as far as I'm concerned. I look at Branch. What's Branch's stature like?
6'4", 220.
No. I forgot to say, like, I was thinking he hadn't really hit his growth spurt yet before, and I forgot to mention that. But
Conveniently small.
yeah, I feel bad mentioning it now though, since I forgot back then. But like, definitely not like tall or anything, but more like stout.
No, I love it. If we needed to retcon somebody small enough to get in this, that would have been fine. Yeah, Brett, you look over and taking stock. Branch could probably squeeze.
All right,
Branch, you got to do it.
I'll do that. Clark, with that 9-iron, if you want to try and like maybe pry the vent open enough that you can follow me if it seems necessary.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Great. All right, I'll see if he's up there.
Yeah.
We're on our way, Ed.
You climb up and start to squeeze. You have to
Sticking the flashlight in the back of my shirt.
bend your shoulders a little, and you can feel that cold metal up against your back. For just a moment, you're a pretty slight guy. Ed Green is maybe a little bigger than you, but you still have to suck in your breath and squeeze past a part of the stone, feeling that pressure on your ribs. A moment of very real claustrophobia. As you make your way up, you can't help but notice that this whole area is damp. The metal has water built up on the edge of it. There's a little bit of probably mold, a little bit of mildew. The smell in here is thick. It's that salty, almost BO smell that comes from water that's just been standing in the same place, rotting the same soil for so long. As you squeeze up, you're in this narrow tunnel. I'm going to ask, you can just straight up, does Branch know much about trains?
Like he's probably seen a couple of the train tracks when he's been doing the hiking trails and stuff, because like they like probably run like crisscross with the train tracks and the mountains and hills and stuff. But I think that's about it.
And of course, Clark. Clark, you would have been forced to learn about trains. The Findale family brought the railroad to this valley.
Oh, yeah.
You look up, and as your friend is sort of going up in, you know exactly what this is, and maybe call it up as Branch. Maybe Branch, you sort of call down, like, what is this thing anyways? These are vents. When you built these big tunnels, you had to dig vents all the way to the top of whatever mountain they were on. You needed exhaust and air to be able to get up and out. It is a lot of people think that, digging through the mountain is the big effort. It's really not. It's drilling these mine shafts impossibly deep to make it so that, the tunnel doesn't turn into a death trap. Squeezing up and making your way through, that muffled voice turns into the tired, very beleaguered, tired voice, crackly, coming up as somebody going, is anyone there? You go up,
we're here.
And see straight up, 127 hours style. You see Ed Green. He's tired, hanging most of his weight. His arm is pinned between a stone and the wall. There is a trickle of blood going down his arm that has since stopped. It is staunched and dried down the side of his arm. He's a little wavery on his feet. You see the shape of Ed Green. He is torn to shreds. His clothes are ripped and torn all over. He has scratches and cuts everywhere. He looks like he ran through the woods and then through a tunnel and then squeezed through it. He did not have sort of the luxury of time that you all did. And he looks at you and goes, "Oh, thank God! I think they killed." The panic, the emotion overwhelming him as he sees another person. They got robbed, man. They killed him.
It's okay. You're still alive, though. Okay. Sorry, or I'm trying to calm him down and all that.
Absolutely. No. Interrupt me. That's your
All right.
job.
Yeah.
Go
Like,
ahead and.
you've had a long night. We're all three here. We're gonna get you out of here, get you back, and you can sleep all of this off. Okay?
Through like heaving breaths, you go to take a closer look. Roll plus sharp for me. It's time to read a bad situation.
Oh. And sweet. That's an 8.
8. Hold 1. Ooh. What's my best way in? What's my best way out? Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? What's the biggest threat? What's most vulnerable to me? What's the best way to protect victims? You get to ask one. That's brutal.
Maybe like would be best way to protect victim be the way of like getting him out of here?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly could be a possibility. So if you're looking for that, I would say, what's the best way to protect the victims? You're going to find the best way to sort of keep him safe. What's my best way out would be the best way to get him out of here quickly, but maybe not as concerned with his bodily safety in this moment as much as getting him out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then all these other options sort of factoring out accordingly. You can see that this tunnel, as you are making your way up, does widen to be a pretty wide shaft that goes all the way up. It's the better part of, maybe 10 or 12 feet wide, this large stone having sort of pinned him to the side in this odd kitty corner. God damn it. So go ahead. Sorry. Which of those questions are you angling for?
I guess the best, so I guess best way to protect him from like getting his like hand out of the wedge safely.
You look around and your eyes turn to the side, and stuck into the wall, hard, a few inches dug deep, you see a pickaxe driven into the wall. Still there, as if somebody in the middle of working let it go and never came back for it. It would give you the leverage you need.
To pull his hand out? Okay.
To like get under the rock. His arm's broken. It doesn't look annihilated. You're going to be able to sort of like loose him out of here. He's never going to play baseball again, but you're going to be able to get him out. If you grab that, you'd be able to leverage him out, and that would be the best way to get him out of this situation. Great.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll pick that up and start working on that.
You grab it, moving over to the side, sticking it under. You're about to roll to protect someone, so you're about to roll plus tough. I'm going to ask in the same time, what have Clark and Brett been up to? Are you guys like yelling back and forth about what you're seeing, or are the two of you just like in nervous silence? What's the energy that we are watching happen as this scene unfolds?
I think we've been talking back and forth with what he's seeing.
Okay.
Just so that we get the picture of what's going on. And I'm thinking, man, could we go out and then head back up to where that vent might come out? So I think I might know where it is.
Here's what I'll say. You wouldn't know where it is. The problem is, the shaft's got to be 150, 200 feet deep.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work.
Now with Ed having a broken arm, at least.
No.
Is there any splint material down there?
Flint? Splint.
Oh, to like get his arm in. I mean, I don't think that's the pressing concern in this moment.
Right.
If you're trying to get him out, I think we can answer that question once he's out.
Brett is standing guard while Clark is communicating with Branch. Brett's got the gun out, and pointing down where we came from, just in case whatever this is comes back out.
You've got this gun pointed. The tension of the scene starting to get the edges, that feeling where you're like, there's a fucking bug on me, but you can't look because you're focused so much on something else. As Branch, you leverage under and pull. Go ahead and roll to protect someone.
All right. You said that's tough.
Yep, roll plus tough.
10 minus 1, so a 9.
You protect them, but you suffer some or all of the harm of the situation. The flavor of that will be very obvious in a minute. You grab this pickaxe, going to pull it out of the wall. You have to like put your foot up and pull it. It's covered in rust. It's clearly been embedded here and exposed to all this moisture in this place. You feel that the handle is kind of dry rotted and has a little bit of a spongy texture to it now, like it's been submerged in water for a long time. Turning around, you like manage to get the flat on the back of this pickaxe under this stone and pulling down as hard as you can. The stone shifts just enough that thankfully, because of how limp he is, Ed just falls to the ground. He hits his tailbone a little hard and his arm whacks, and you hear a shout rings down for Brett and Clark as his arm whacks into the side of the wall. He reaches up. You see that it is very broken, not a compound, but there is a deep gouge, and some of that bleeding starts up again. Not enough to make you too worried. As you do that, this rock falls with a loud, like, clunk, clunk, and a moment of panic as you look down, afraid it's going to cover the hole. It doesn't. It lands to the side. As you look up, you can't believe what you see. As you look up, you see water. Like a wave of it pouring out of one of the holes in the wall, coming down towards you, one that you were just looking at that didn't. And as you, like, go to react, nothing happens. Ed looks up at you and goes, "What? You all
Look
right?"
out for the water, I think.
Look up.
Maybe.
And there's nothing there.
I just had, like, a vision of, like, a whole bunch of water pouring on me. It was weird.
As you say that, Ed's eyes go wide. And he's looking behind you. He goes, "Oh, fuck, he's back! He's back! He's back!" And starts to pull himself towards the hole, grabbing towards rock and stone. I only have one question. Do you run? Do you turn around?
Yeah, I'll be like, "Okay, Ed, get down that ladder quick." I'll turn around and look.
You turn and see, barely outlined, like a shadow on water, like tracing light and floating dust, a figure at the other end of this like 8-foot wide section of this vent, looking over at you. You don't see eyes, but you know that they're looking at you. And for as impermanent, as unreal as they look, there is a very real pickaxe on the ground. You look up, make eye contact. What thought rips through Branch's mind as he sees a ghost in front of him, pickaxe in hand?
I think just seeing the other body is just like, you're not Robert, but
You all hear, "You're not Robert," as you see Ed's hand come down. Brett and Clark, you look up to see Ed's face pulling through just in time to hear Branch's voice say, "You're not Rob?" As Ed is trying to pull himself through the hole, knowing that he's got like 6 feet of fall to do, head first. How do the two of you react in this moment?
I'm gonna get ready to catch him.
You, Clark, running forward to get ready to catch, arms outstretched. Brett, what do you do?
Brett has a moment where he's like, I'm small enough that I can probably fit through that crevice. But he hears that thing about Rob. Nothing should have been up there. He'd have seen it at this point. He looks down at the book, and he whips it open to the drowned. And he's going to try and read to see some weakness.
And we cut to credits at the end of episode 2, boys. It is 10:14. This could not have gone better. As we see this specter revealed, we flip open the book. There is this acknowledgement of the arcane in this moment. It can't be avoided any longer. We will cut there. We'll pick up next Tuesday on the final episode of Scheduling Conflict Presents Summer Camp Slasher. Bum bum. bum. This was super fun. I love Monster of the Week. You guys had some really fun characters. I want to say, I know it's weird to jump in a whole episode in. Michael and Stefan, thank you guys so much. You kicked ass jumping into the action like this. I'm really excited to see how this all wraps up. With that, normally at this time on this YouTube channel / Twitch channel, depending on what our sort of streaming calendars are looking like, you can tune into the Party Makes Things Worse Haven, which is Spencer's very exciting show. We got one beautiful episode in, and then scheduling conflicts, alas. Hopefully, I think this break will maybe embolden us, get us a little bit of warmed up, ready to dive into that fantasy genre change. So that show 8 to 10:30, right, is what we've been doing. 8 to 10:30 on Tuesdays. You can tune into that here. We would love to have you. Thursdays, we have DM Writers Room. That's a show where Spencer, Michael, and I demystify the DMing process by coming up with and kind of prepping things live. Sometimes we're doing short form quick adventures, sometimes we're doing whole larger sections of campaigns. We always have a blast. I definitely recommend you check that out. And then Sundays we have Game Masters of Games, where we play. This last game that we've been playing has been Baldur's Gate 3. We had a pretty tragic series of events last time, but I believe that we can get back on the horse. We are currently rolling with the big boy squad. It is the three of us and Halcyon, the largest companion, fighting our way through Baldur's Gate 3. We are underleveled and going way too fast. So, we are doing our best given the situation. Outside of that, check us out on Drive-Thru RPG. Our first adventure, Lich's Dollhouse, is out. A couple of you have bought it. A couple of you have it in your wish list. Don't you like us? Come on. No, I'm kidding. So that's out. We're looking to get our second one out here. We've got a lot of things going on, so it's been been a little bit of and it's a bigger project, so it's been a heavier lift. That's Void's Eye Observatory, and then we got some other stuff that we're talking about. Definitely check out the TikTok. That is Spencer's baby. When he isn't inundated with 6 million, Spencer's like the busiest guy I know right now. When he doesn't have 5 million things going on, Spencer makes some incredibly funny memes and content on there, so go check that out. That's got to be it, right?
That's it.
The music, right?
You did it.
Oh, yes, the music White Bat
shout
Audio.
out.
This is their let me find. I can probably pull it up on
80s synth John Carpenter.
There we go. By White Bat Audio. Gosh, I hope that I'm almost positive this is true. I hope whoever runs that YouTube channel is a normal guy. I haven't looked into that much deeper, so if I'm unaware of something, I guess it might be. But no, this audio is great, and they have a couple of other things that are good. It's like all 80s synthwave though, so not all of it is super useful for GMing. Thank you all for tuning in. I can't wait to wrap this up and get into some other adventures in the future. Gosh, that is a lot of stuff to remember. All right, signing off.